Okay, well, hello everyone. We are going to focus on 3 by 3 multiplication today. We're going to do so really just focusing on one strategy today. Each video will kind of look at the various strategies we've used to help us with 3 by 3 multiplication. Today we're going to think about what is called the box method, which is really just an area model. Okay, so we're gonna dive in today and kind of think about that. Remember, when we're talking about 3 by 3 multiplication, we're not talking about 3 times 3. We're talking about a 3-digit number times another 3-digit number. Right? So in this case, 329 times 510 is what we're doing. And we're going to do so using our box method today. So let's go ahead and dive right in and get going. We got 329 times 510. One thing we know if we're going to use the box method, right? Thinking about those steps that we use, we're going to expand our numbers. Very important rule. It's going to help us see the value of each place value in our numbers. Plus, it builds our rows and our columns for our model, right? So this could be our rows. And if I expand 510, I'm going to get 500 plus 10 plus 0. And this would give me my columns. Okay, so that's the first thing we really want to do so we can visualize this area model. And so our next step is to build that model. So our model, again, is an array. An array consists of rows and it consists of columns. So I have 1, 2, 3 rows. So I'm going to have a row of 300. I'm going to have a row of 20. I'm going to have a row of 9. Right? So boom, there's my rows. And I'm multiplying this by my columns. So I have a column of 500, column of 10, and a column of 0. Okay, so now that we've put that model together, we're going to multiply each column by each row. I like to write down each multiplication sentence to help me do that. So I start with this column of 500, and I'm going to multiply it by this row of 300, right where they line up. And then I'm going to stay in this column of 500, and I'm going to move down and multiply it by this row of 20, and then this column of 500 multiplied by this row of 9. Now I'm going to move over to my next column, which is going to be 10 times a row of 300, a column of 10 times a row of 20, and a column of 10 times a row of 9. And then this column, this will be easy for us because we're actually taking a column of 0 and multiplying it by rows. But one thing we know, 0 rule of multiplication, right, is that basically anything times 0 is still going to be 0. So I can already do that math right there. I'm done. Cool. So now we're going to multiply this work. We're going to find our answer. So I'm going to go with base 10 multiplication. I'm going to say 5 times 3 is 15. And then I see that there are 4 zeros. So I'm going to need 4 zeros in my product. It gets me 150,000. That's a big number. 1 times 3 is 3. And then 3 zeros. So that gets me 3,000. Okay, now we're going to go 5 times 2, which is going to get me a 10, and then 3 zeros. So that's one of the areas that can be tricky sometimes when multiplying. And then 10 times, or excuse me, 1 times 2 is 2 and 2 zeros. So it gets me 200. 5 times 9 is 45 with 2 zeros. And this is going to get me 90. Okay, cool. So we've already now went through and multiplied. So in order to finalize this work, right? So I guess we should put that step down. We multiply. And now we're just going to add up all of our products to get our final answer. We're going to have to add all these numbers together. I'm not even going to bother with the zeros. Adding zeros to something doesn't change anything. So that's going to be nice for me. Some extra numbers I don't have to worry about. So I'm gonna have these 6 numbers that I'm going to have to add and make sense of to get my final answer. So I'm gonna start over here. So I had 150,000. I like to cross them off so that I know that I've used them, so I don't accidentally forget to add a number, or I don't accidentally add a number twice. That happens commonly. Okay, I'm gonna stop there because I can see I don't have a lot of space left. So I'm gonna add these first, and then I'll add on the last numbers because I don't want to cram my work in here. So again, base 10 multiplication, once I have my products and I line everything up, it's really a bunch of zeros and a few numbers with my addition. So it does make life a little bit easier. So that's 163,200. But I still have these 2 other numbers. I have 4,500 and I have 9. So that's 4,509. Okay, so this is taking up space and I'm fine with that, but I do want to make sure I'm not cramming. So I'm going to jump to the other page and finish this out. So again, I'm adding these last 2 numbers. Oh, I use these. Let's cross those out. So 163,200. And I'm adding 4,509. Now, when I'm done with adding these 2 numbers, that's going to get me my final answer because I'm adding all the numbers that were in my array, my area model. Okay. But before I do that, I'm actually going to do a quick estimation to think about what might I get. So I'm going to pop up here and I'm going to round this to 300 and I'm going to round this to 500. And 3 times 5 is going to get me 15. And then I got 4 zeros, 1, 2, 3, 4. So 1, 2, 3. So 150,000 is about what my answer should be. So now, knowing that, here's the cool part. We're going to go back, add these up. And I get 167,709. To me, that feels reasonable. Yeah, it's a lot more, right? But when we're multiplying larger numbers, our estimations will be a bit further off. Plus, I see that I rounded down in both of these situations. So my estimation will be an underestimation. It will be smaller than my real number. So this really pans out to me. This looks good. So when we take 329 and we multiply it by 510, we get 167,709. So let's try another one. I'm going to try to really contain this one to one page so it's easier to see. Let's see here. Let's take 127 and let's multiply that by 568. Okay, so this time I'm gonna estimate first. Let me get that estimation out of the way. So what's that gonna be? 160,000? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's about 60,000 should be my answer. Okay, so let's go ahead and run through our steps. We're going to expand the number out so we can build our rows and our columns. So this is 127 expanded out. And then 568. Okay. And again, this is here to help me build my rows and my columns for my model. So I see that I have 3 rows here. I have a row called 100. I have a row called 20, and I have a row called 7. And then I have a column of 500, a column of 60, and a column of 8. I'm going to make my model nice and large, right? So I can see all the math that I'm doing. Now I'm going to do my rows times my columns, but again, I'm going to write all my multiplication sentences down first to help me. So this is a column of 500 times a row of 100, a column of 500 times a row of 20, and the column of 500 times the row of 7, right? You can see where they line up, where they kind of match each other. So move over here to this column of 60, multiply it by this row of 100, column of 60 times this row of 20, and a column of 60 times a row of 7, column of 8 times a row of 100, column of 8 times a row of 20, and a column of 8 times a row of 7. Now we can use that base 10 multiplication and go through and just solve each one of these. So 5 times 1 gets me 5, and then there are 4 zeros. So that's 50,000. So that's a good chunk right away of my estimation. So I'm feeling good here. 6 times 1 is 6, and then 3 zeros. So there's 6,000. This is going to be 800. 5 times 2 gets me 10 with 3 zeros. 6 times 2 gets me 12 with 2 zeros. 2 times 8 is 16 and 1 zero, so that's 160. 5 times 7 gets me 35 with 2 zeros. 6 times 7 is 42 and a 0. And then 8 times 7 is 56. Okay, so now this time notice that the first problem we had zeros in one of our columns, so it kind of helped. We now have more numbers we have to add together, and that's fine. More doesn't mean it's impossible. It doesn't mean it's hard. It just means we have more. That's it. So we'll just have to be really careful of our steps. We're going to add up all 9 of these numbers. And that's going to prove to like need a lot of space. So again, I'm going to start up here. I'm going to go with a 50,000. I'm going to line up a 6,000 and 800. I'm going to add this. So I'm just going to add this row first. So again, doing this in steps can be very helpful. So I got 56,800 for this row here. Okay. And then let me add up the second row. So do that over here. So that's 10,000, 1,200, 160. So 0, a 6, a 3, a 1, and a 1. Yeah. Okay, so that gets me 11,360. Notice I'm already lining them up over there. And then we're going to add up these last 3 right here. I'm going to pop up and do that here. So 3,500 plus 420 plus 56. So 6, 7, 9, 3. So that's 3,976. And now I'm going to add all 3 of these rows. Oh, we use these. Okay. Now I'm going to add all these up to get a final answer. And again, my estimation was around 60,000, which should probably be pretty close. I see that I rounded up with the 500, but I rounded down with the 100. So I still think this is going to be an underestimation. I think our real answer will be a little bit higher. But let's see. Okay, so 6, 13, 9, 10, 18, 21, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And that gets us 72,136. 72,000. Come over here and put this in. So we get 72,136. And what did I say? I said I thought it would be underestimation, didn't I? But really, it should be an over. Right? Because we 30, yeah, roughly. But this is good. I'm good with this because again, with larger numbers, with larger numbers, the distance between our estimation and the real product, it does get bigger because we are rounding more numbers away. So there we have it. Multiplication of 3 by 3 digit numbers using an area model. Remember those steps, right? Whoops. Remember, we're going to expand. We're going to build rows and columns. That's why we expand. It gives us those rows and those columns. Then we are going to multiply. And then we will add up all of our products. And we're done. I know that sounds simple. It is straightforward. I'm not going to use the word simple, but it is straightforward. It just takes time, right? As you can see, we did 2 problems in about 15 minutes. It takes time. So keep up the good work. If you have any questions, of course, you can always ask, and we will see you next time.